Good morning, all of you. Today we are going to read class 7th SST Geography, chapter number 1, Our Environment, part 2. So, student, in the previous video, I had explained about the environment. So, what is environment? That we had already discussed. That means the surrounding of our, that is the environment. So it include various things such as soil, air, land, water, plant, animals. So all these mix up and forms the environment. Also we have studied about the environment, the types of environment, that is the natural and the human environment, and we also studied about the natural environment in which the components in which the natural environment is present, such as biotic and abiotic. So in the last topic we had discussed about the abiotic component of our natural environment, such as lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere and the biosphere. Now in this video we will learn about the components of biotic which is present in the natural environment. So first of all, before starting the biotic component, let us know which who are, or we can say what are the components known as the biotic, such as living organisms like animal, plants. So they are known as the biotic component of our environment. Now, how these biotic components live, where they live, what they do, and how they form and how they make their environment themselves. So let us begin with the topic, that is the next topic of our chapter is the ecosystem. So ecosystem is what? It is the interaction among all the living organisms that are dependent on each other. Means here it is an interaction, that means they are together, they are together, whether it is a living thing or non-living thing. So their interaction, so the interaction among the all living organisms that are dependent on each other with their immediate environment called as ecosystem or ecological system. So basically ecosystem is what? It is where the living things or living organism depend on each other with their environment. Means whatever environment is there and how they are dependent on each other, that is the ecosystem. Now you can see one flow chart, it is mentioned that you can see that producer is a plant. So how they are interact with the nature. So the plant get energy from the sun. Okay, so plant is produced, the leaves are there. So who eats those leaves or the plant? That is eaten by the primary consumer, or primary consumer, that is herbivorous, or herbivorous are eaten by secondary consumers such as carnivorous, and this secondary consumers or the tertiary or the carnivorous is eaten by the top carnivorous animals such as lion, snakes, eagle and all. And when they get died, so what happened? Decomposes its elements, or we can say the dead bodies of those animals and plants, and that makes the mix the minerals which is in the form of different matters such as the soil, the minerals which which came from the soil, that mixes in the soil, the gases which the living organism made up, those gases are released after decomposing, they get mixed with the atmosphere. So this is whole the source, the ecosystem, means they are interacting with each other. Here all living and non-living, here you can see the both thing, biotic and abiotic component both. So biotic is what? Living organism, animals and plants, and abiotic elements such as air, water, soil. So they all are interact, they all are come together and form the ecosystem. Now that also you have to understand that ecosystem may be as small as a pond or woodland, or an ocean or equatorial forest. That means the area which is comes under the ecosystem is not small. It can be large, or it can be small. Both type of ecosystem can be found. So if I ask you, have you ever wondered why there are cone shaped trees and animals with the long fur, like yak and all, they found in Ladakh? Why not in Mumbai or Dubai or Delhi? And or if I ask you why camels are found in Rajasthan and penguins in Antarctica, so what is the reason behind that? Because these animals or these living things, they have interacted with their own natural environment. On natural environment, they had interacted themselves, they had adopted themselves into that environment. So this interaction is known as the ecosystem. They have interacted with each other. So why there is a heavy fur on the yak? The heavy fur is to protect from the cold. So that is why the this is the interdependence on the nature, with the help of the both element biotic and the abiotic animals. Okay. So as I told you that this can be small as a pond or large as a rainforest, or it can be stretches over the hundreds of square kilometer. Okay, so this can be possible. The next is uh, the interaction. This interaction is led to the formation of the food chain. What is food chain? Food chain means the transferring of the energy from uh, one component to another component. Food chain is what? Food chain is the transferring of energy from one to another. That is the food chain. Now see, first of all, look at the picture. Picture is what? It's showing the uh, producer, then primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary, and decomposer, as already we have seen in the previous topic. So how it happens and how it works, how the food chain works basically, let us see with the example. Okay, first of all, tell me producers. Producers are what? Plants. So plant is a natural thing or living thing or biotic component of our environment. So from where it get the energy? How the plant grows? So you will say, sir, that plant get the energy or the sunlight from the sun, and the it also get the soil, then it also get the nutrients from the soil, and water from the soil also, or even we can say the rainfall also. So with the help of abiotic component, plant grows. So it is that plant is known as the producer. So it produces the food to the animals which are herbivorous, or we can say which are primary consumers, such as like the animals. There you can see in the picture there is a rat. Okay, there is a rat that is the considered as a primary consumer. So the rat is what? It eats the plants also, means the food also, and the animals or the dead bodies we can also say. But mostly animals can be seen, this rat can be seen by eating the food grains of our field, or we can say if we put those things uh, in our home also, so those rat eats those food grains. So they are known as the primary consumers. Or the next one is secondary consumer. Secondary consumer is what? The consumer which is dependent on the primary consumer. So the energy which is provided by the sun, soil, and other abiotic component to the biotic component, like producer, that energy is transformed to the primary consumer, and that the energy which comes to the primary consumer, that will get transferred to the secondary consumer when secondary consumer eat up the primary consumer. Again, tertiary consumer. So tertiary consumer, what it will do? It will eat up the secondary consumer. So the energy which is produced by sun, that is transferred to the plant, then it is to the primary consumer, then it is to the secondary consumer, and then to the tertiary consumer. So the energy is get transformed from to a biotic component to the biotic component. So this is the food chain. So they all are interdependent for their growth, for the maintenance of the balance of the ecosystem. So this is very required. Now the last is decomposer. Decomposer are what? Decomposer are the microorganisms, bacteria which decomposes the dead bodies of those uh, producers, primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer. So these decomposes the dead remains of those things. And what happens after decomposing as earlier I told you, the minerals, which is the body or the plants which is that they get from the soil, that minerals or the nutrients get mixed with the soil. The gases which is already that they get from the environment, those gases were also get released in the environment. So decomposers are very good, or we can say decomposers are very helpful for creating the for converting the biotic component into the abiotic component, because when they get the minerals get mixed with the soil or the air get released in the atmosphere, so they will convert it into the abiotic components. So this is the food chain that you have to understand. Like food chain is what? It is the transferation of the, or we can say the transfer of energy from producer to the primary consumer, to secondary consumer, to tertiary consumer, and finally the decomposers are there to eat up, to decompose all the remains of dead bodies of these things, and that will return to the abiotic component. So I hope you are able to understand what is food chain. So several food chains. So this is the only one example that you are seeing on the page. So several food chains are there. See here, it is a rat or snake and eagle or hawk, it is mentioned. So there are several other uh, food chains are there. So that other food chains or number of food chains form the food web. Means where the number of food chains, number of animals, they dependent on each other. Such as if I say, if it is not a rat, if it is a deer, if it is a deer in the place of primary consumer. So and for the secondary consumer it is a wolf. So eat deer eat the grasses, and this wolf eat the deer, and the wolf is get again, if it is get eaten by the lion and other animals. So this is another food chain, this is another food chain. So you have seen the two example, one is the rat, snake and eagle, and or the plants. So plants, so already it is primary consumer, or sorry, plant is already producer. So if we count as another food chain, such as like plant is there, plant is eaten by deer, deer is eaten by the wolf, and wolf is eaten by the lion. Again, when the lion get died, when the fox get died, when the deers get died, or the plant get dried up, so they all will get rotten, or we can say that all will get decomposed, and the animal elements which they get from the nature, those elements get returned to its nature. Clear? Now one more thing you have to understand is that about the food chain is the herbivorous, carnivorous and omnivorous. So this is very easy topic that you have already studied in your previous classes. So what is herbivorous? The animals which eat up the grasses, that is the herbivorous. The animals which eats the herbivorous animal, that is the carnivorous animals. Or omnivorous animals are what? Omnivorous animals are the animals which eat up both things. Plant, they eats the plant also, they eats the animal also. So this is the omnivorous animals. Clear? Or we can say omnivorous consumers too. Now the next topic that we have to discuss uh, in this video is that biome. Biome is what? Now here you have to understand the difference between the biome and ecosystem. Biome is what? A biome is a large region of earth that has a certain climate and certain type of living thing, such as tundra, forest, grassland, desert. So they have the specific climate and specific living thing. Okay. Now you cannot mix with the ecosystem, because ecosystem is also having the different climate, different animals, different type of components. but you cannot mix up with the ecosystem because biome is different. Biome is talking about the specific specific climate or a specific living thing. Okay, here if I give you example about the desert, wherever the desert is found, whether it is the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere of the earth, so the desert, what is the feature of desert is a dry land which contains the um, thorny bushes, or we can say the cactus leaves are there. The animals, such as the animals which can adopt the dry area or dry climate, such as xerophyte plants or xerophyte animals. So these kind of animals or these kind of plants are found in the almost all of the region where the desert is found. So they have specific climate and specific living thing. So this is the biome. There you can see rainforest, taiga, temperate deciduous forest, grassland, desert, tundra. So wherever this particular biome or particular uh, biome is found, they have their specific feature. So if I give you example of desert of India, that is the Thar desert. So the animals which are found in those desert are same in comparison, almost same in comparison to the animals which are found in the Sahara desert, because they all are lie at the hot desert. So they have the same kind of animals, they have the same kind of plant system. So this is the biome, means a specific climate or specific regions which are found, which having the specific same climate and same almost same kind of animals in the all over area in the whole world. So this is the biome. The plant and animals of each biome have trait, means they had adapted themselves to survive in the particular biome. Plant and animal that live within the smaller areas of biome also depend on each other for the survival. So here in an biome also, because you can see this the desert, the ship of desert is what? It is a camel. So have camel developed itself as an animal which can survive into desert without water, without that much food, because that camel have the capability, or the camel have adopted itself by storing water in its hump and by storing food in its hump. So that will last up to the longer period of time. The food which is stored in the hump of animal, that can last up to the longer period of time. So they what the animal what the camel did, camel had adopted itself. Again, if I talk about the plants, so you have already seen several example, or you have already seen the plants of cactus. So cactus is what? Cactus is a plant which is a which has the waxy leaf. Waxy leaf means the leaves contains the waxy, means that is the sticky substance in its leaves. So how, why they are, and they have the thick skin, they have the thick skin. Why they have thick skin? The reason is that the water cannot retain, means the water cannot be absorbed by the sun. So that is why they have the thick leaves, so that they can protect water from get evaporated easily. So that is why those leaves have the uh, specific quality, because they have adopted themselves according to that particular biome or the particular area. Okay, so this is the biome have the specific climate and specific living thing which is found all over the world. Now moving towards the next topic. Okay, adaptation you are knowing very well. There you can see uh, in your book that is the some of the points which is mentioned of the adaptation. Adaptation is what? To to make yourself according to the climate or according to the situation, that is the adaptation. So we people, those we are living in India, so we are experiencing the several kind of climate, such as we also experience the rainfall, we also experience the summer climate, we also experience the winter climate or the winter season basically. So we experience all those things. If I say ki if the person who is living in the Jammu and Kashmir state, if we ask to send that person to the desert area, so it will take a lot of time to adopt the climate of the desert. This there might be a chance that the person will not adopt the climate. And if we make it reverse, if I send a person who is living in the desert area and to the climate or colder climate areas, so that person will also not easily survive in those colder areas, because the body which he adopted by living in the desert areas, that will not cope up with the cold areas. So that is why this adaptation is very important. The animals which are found, the plants which are found in these regions, they have their specific adaptation process which they had opted in the last thousands, 10,000, 20,000, or before that also they had adopted the climatic condition of our area. So these animals are found in the specific areas in all over the world. Now, we had already discussed that the environment is of two type, that is the natural and the human made environment. So already we had discussed about the human made and natural environment. Now we have to discuss the human made environment. So what is human made environment? What is human made environment? So human made environment is what? It is environment, the it is that which is created when human being interact with the natural environment. So we cannot create human environment by ourselves. Like if I ask you that fan is made up of some metal. So metal that we get from the nature, the metal that we use for making the fan or table or chair, the whatever things we use, or knife, if I give you the example of knife. So knife is made up of iron or steel. So where do we get the iron, steel? We get it from the nature. So whatever we made, those all things we get from the nature. So human is, yes, that is human made, but the main source or the resource or the raw material that they get from the nature, such as building railway tracks, bridges. Okay, so all these things are made by the human being, but the basic and requirement or the basic material which they use for constructing these things, they get from the nature only. So basically human environment is what? The environment which is created by human with the help of nature or the natural environment. Clear? So earlier, how this changes is there, what why or we can say how these changes are present in our human environment. So if I give you you have already studied in class 5th or 6th in your previous classes, that earlier humans lived as a nomadic life, means they lived in a jungles. They used to travel from one place to another, and they started why they travel from one place to another? In the search of food, because they need food to feed themselves and their family members. So they used to travel from one place to another. So they used to hunt animals, they used to kill animals, and they also used to gather the fruit, the roots of plants, so that they can eat. Slowly and gradually they have started the farming. Farming means the agriculture. So they have started doing the agriculture work. So they need to be stay for a longer period of time in a particular place. So this gives the opportunity for the settlement, or we can say the settlement process is get started during that time when they have started learning the farming procedure. So they had started the settled life for the food and shelter. Like they need to, whatever they had grown, that those food grains need to be stored. So they have started creating the shelters, like such as hut. They have started creating hut for living themselves, for living the for keeping the animals, and for keeping the food grains. So such type of shelters is going to start. In the previous time, people used to exchange the product uh, as a that no known as a barter system, means exchanging the product. So this was also become the important part of their life. And when there is a lot of changes, when there is a lot of development occur in the society, so that barter system is get also extinct, and people have started exchanging the product in the mm, in the they had started exchanging the product with the help of coin, with the help of money, whatever they are having, whether it is a silver, gold, or copper, whatever. And now we are also using notes, we are using the token currency, such as the paper currency or the uh, metal currency. So those things are used by the people. So this is because the advancement of technology and the development which is took place in the several years. So these things is done by the humans, these things are done by the humans, but whatever they did, till now, that all are based by the nature, because the resources which they used for creating this development or for making those development things, these things they have got from the nature only. So this is the human environment. Now we have to also understand that people, uh, the population is increasing. Okay, the population is increasing, so the needs of every people is to be look after. So in earlier, one parent is there, so when they become parents, so their child will need, when they grown up, their child will grown up, they need various things, such as they need to be feed, they need to be wear a good clothes, they need to be get to good school or get the good education. So the parent is started working and trying to give all of the necessities which is required by its son or daughter, whatever the child is. So these things, these things which is the necessities or the requirement of the population, started the harassment or the harassing the nature, because the population is on the rapid pace, means the development of population or the increasing of the population is a very at the very large scale. So that is the directly proportional to the demand of the resources which is required for the basic survival of the human being. So they had started extracting more and more petrols and products, the petroleum products. They had started extracting the more iron and coal from the nature. So all these things started the harassing of the nature. So if we have something, see, if I give you the example of biscuit, suppose we have only one packet of biscuit, it contains 15 or 20 biscuits, whatever it is. So if we have only one packet of biscuit, so we started eating, and we had eaten almost all of the biscuit in a day or in a year. I'm just giving the example. Okay, we had started eating that biscuit of packet in a day. So what we will when the biscuit will get finished or over, so what we will eat tomorrow? So this is the resources which we get from the nature. Those resources are the fixed resources. After some time, those resources will get finished. So we need to conserve those resources for our future generation. So this particular thing is known as the sustainable development. So what is sustainable development? Sustainable development is a process in which we need to protect, we need to use the product in that manner, so that our future generation can also use those products. Because we need to run the vehicle, we need the energy to run the several electrical appliances. We need to feed the people. So for that we need resources. But resources should not be wasted. Resources should not be wasted, and it should be preserved for the future generation. That is the sustainable development. So what is conservation? So conservation is a care and protection. It is a care and protection of resources, so that they can persist for the future generation, means that will stay for the future generation, so the future generation can be used. So conservation is what? It is similar to preservation or the protection of the nature. They strive to accomplish this task in a different way. Like what we have to do? We have to do the conservation or and sustainable, means we have to protect, we have to save those resources for our future use. So that is also known as sustainable development. So here is a question: why it is required? Why it is required? Because the each animals and plants and ecosystem is valuable because it is a special. Because all living things have the unique identity, means they have the unique features, and uh, like desert, forest, coral reef. So they are the different, they are different from each others, uh, but they need to be get protection from human being, because we had started using those things for our basic needs. Every species play an vital role in its ecosystem. Like ecosystem is a uh, is a is like our nature, where the living and non-living thing are interact with each other. So this is very important, that the ecosystem should not be disturbed. Ecosystem should not be disturbed. So that is why we should have to protect the ecosystem by providing the conservation to those particular living and non-living things, such as conserving the water, protecting the animals, that they cannot get extinct. So that is why we need to care about the animals, that is necessary to protect our ecosystem. Biodiversity is the key to balanced existence. So biodiversity is what? Biodiversity is what? Where the different things, like such as um you have seen there are several animals, there are several type of plant, there are several type of species which are present on the earth atmosphere or the surface. So those things can be protected. They are different from each other. So they are used for the particular period of time, they are used for the particular stage. So that is why we need to conserve those things. The global warming is what? Global warming is the increasing of the carbon emission that is done in the environment. So we need to stop this, because if we do not preserve our earth, so we will lose the all good things that we have. So we must act now for the better world tomorrow. That means we should have to protect our environment by getting um, worse, because what we did, we exploited all those resources for our uses. So that is why we need to protect our environment by uh, from us from us we need to protect our environment, because the necessities of people are very vast. And the the resources are very limited. So we need to protect our environment, and we need to conserve the resources which are present on the earth surface, by providing the specific care to those resources or those animals which or living things which are present on the earth surface. Now this chapter is over. If you have any confusion, you can ask me through the message. So this chapter is over. Now your homework is that you have to fill the exercises which is mentioned in the book, fill in the blanks, or match the columns, and choose the correct option. Those exercises you have to done in the book. Thank you, students.